Good morning, Gus Birney. Welcome back on VH Berries.
I'm so happy to be here. It's been, 2 years? I think, maybe?
It's been more than 2 years, and I am extremely grateful because in musical terms, your time signature contains and is indicating 2/4 notes in each measure, and yet the tempo of your brilliance excels any baseline, creating a paragon in motion. How are you doing today?
That was beautiful. William Shakespeare over here. No, I'm great. I'm in Toronto. It's freezing here, but it's beautiful. It's actually a sunny day, and it's really nice to have the sun out. It's funny, in January, it's like the sun is so sporadic, and it just comes and goes when it pleases, and we could really use some sun in January. I feel like that's the month we need sun the most, but it's great here. I'm so happy.
Absolutely, Gus Birney. The sun is sporadic in Toronto, and as the partitions are not interchangeable, we need a notebook to put this knowledge into print and a spyglass to fight the plague of wasps that stands before us.
Yes, you're right. You're weaving my stuff in very naturally.
I would love Gus Birney to discuss about that horror short film called A Plague of Wasps, because it marks your first step as an illustrious producer and manufacturer of long-term emotions.
Yeah, well, I feel a little like an imposter calling myself an executive producer because I really had such a small hand in creating that at all. But my good friend, Chloe Grace Simone, who is an amazing actress, and who we went to actually elementary school together, and then we went to high school together for a little bit. And she came to me like 2 years ago with, maybe not even that long ago, with her short that she wanted to get made. And, she was starring in it and writing it and potentially wanted to direct it. And she was basically like, I want to make this. I want to make it with a small budget, and I want to cast really good theater-based actors, kind of. I mean, I think she wanted anybody, but she was like, it doesn't have to be movie stars. I don't know how we would get movie stars, but just out of the people that you know in New York, like your community, who do you think's right for these parts? And I was so blown away by her writing. And I've read one of the features she's written, and she's amazing. So I recommended my friend Annie McNamara, who is also an incredible actress, that I did this movie, 3 Birthdays. I'm plugging that too. That actually, for those watching this might be out before or after, I don't know, but it's actually playing at the Angelica for a couple of nights, this movie, 3 Birthdays. That's by this director and writer, Jane Weinstock. But Annie played my mother in it, and I just remember thinking she was so wonderful and she would be right for this role in Plague of Wasps. And so I recommended her, and I sent a couple other people Chloe's way, and just had a little bit of a back and forth. I wish I had been there for the shoot, because I think it was like 3 or 4 days, and she rented this beautiful Airbnb. And I completely did not have that much of, my hand was dabbling in and out of it so little, but she sent me the finished product, and it's incredible and has gotten into a couple festivals, and I'm so proud of her. But it definitely has made my interest in producing much greater. And I have a really great friend who's also a writer and a director, and his name is Ted Schaefer, who I did this film Giving Birth to a Butterfly with a couple years ago. And he's also been amazing and like asking me to help collaborate on this script he's written, and, has included me in so much of the producing process. And it's really made me feel like as an actor, you only get one little facet into the filmmaking experience, and it kind of feels like you're the kid and everyone else is the adults telling you what to do, which can be equally fun and fulfilling. But it's great to actually be behind the scenes sometimes and be like, oh, wow, this is how something gets up on its feet. And, there's like incredible women in this industry right now who are wearing all these different hats. And, I admire Sydney Sweeney, who's like this baller, like businesswoman who's making and producing and has her own production company. And it's just, and like Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, these women that are just like taking over. So, Anyway, long-winded answer. I'm so proud of that film, and I take no credit in it being anything but me suggesting a few people, but I'm very happy to have that producer credit.
Absolutely, Gus Birney, you are enjoying being behind the scenes. And after that short film called A Plague of Wasps, I am thinking about two sequels, respectively called The Relief of Butterflies and The Return of Caterpillars.
Oh my gosh, amazing. I'm going to send those to Chloe, those ideas. Fantastic. I'm choking. I'm having water, but good, yes.
Absolutely, Gus Birney, because I have looked ahead of the time and in the future by creating this trilogy, because I want to triple the screen time and directing workflow of Chloe Simon Crawford, a close fidus Acate of yours, circa 2007, and one of the only two artists that you are following on SoundCloud alongside NT the Floater.
Wait, who did you say?
I mentioned NT the Floater at very last, which is a musical artist that you're following on SoundCloud.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I'm still writing music. I'm still like obsessed with music, and so yeah. I mean, I told you about my friend Adam Westerman, he goes by Fauntleroy, and I still follow a lot of his music, and I think he's amazing. And I'm still trying to write more, and it's just hard with like my schedule and being busy and like feeling creative, devoting the time to actually writing stuff and putting that energy into it. It's like it's a full-time job in itself. So, but I'm trying to write to music and get it produced.
You are trying to write more music, Gus Birney, and to come back to Chloe Simon Crawford and A Plague of Wasps. It was filmed on 616 Creekside Road in Kingston, New York, right inside a house with a direct view, a bird eye view of the Aesopus Creek tributary. Can you tell us a little bit more about the storyline? Because you just mentioned the fact that you helped to connect some of the cast members.
Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like this is so her baby and I don't want any credit, but it's basically about this engaged couple that she's coming to meet the family, and it's their wedding, and she is marrying into this white family, and Chloe's black, and so the mother actually has some issues, but it feels like you can't tell if it's racism or if she's like feeling this weird, just like her and they don't mesh. And the mother, who's Annie, she actually starts looking at Chloe like she's the devil or there's some evil spirit in her. And she's the only one seeing it, and she's freaking out and trying to warn everyone. And no one else is seeing it. And so the question is, it's like, is this a racist environment, or is there actually, is Chloe actually some kind of evil spirit that is going to get everyone? But I mean, I'm putting it in like these simple terms, and I wish she was here to explain it because it's so much more complex than that. But yeah, it's really fantastic. And, you know, for the budget that she had, it's like, the cinematography is gorgeous and the location was great, and she's got all these great people a part of it. So I'm really, really proud of her. And, you know, I have a brother who is an actor and also a writer and has spent years, you know, getting things up on their feet, and then like the project's collapsing because funding goes down. And, you know, it's just like, any artist watching this will understand that like getting something made is such a feat to accomplish. And so like, let alone it being good and something of quality. And, you know, this is something that I think she should be really proud of. I also called her Chloe Grace Simone, and her name is Chloe Crawford. So I don't know why I called her that. She is my friend and I know her name, and I said it wrong. But yes, she's amazing. And I wish she was here to talk about it. But yeah.
Furthermore, Gus Birney, that house located on 616 Creek Side Road is a wooden house that is very similar, except for the ceiling height, to the one of the Phelps family.
Of the Phelps, yeah, Shining Vale, season 2. Let's segue to that. Yeah. Well, I know. I mean, since I saw you, I think last time we talked, which is crazy because so much life has happened. I had just finished shooting Shining Vale, the second season, which was on Stars, and then unfortunately the show did not get another season, but it actually is now streamable on HBO Max. I guess it's Max. I don't know if it's ever HBO or Max or HBO Max. What do you call it? Who knows? But yeah, it's now on there, and it's like, you know, it's been a year since the show didn't get picked up for another season. And so it's wonderful because now it's on HBO, and it has this whole other audience, that people who just didn't, you know, Stars is an incredible network, but like, people, it doesn't have as big an outreach. And so now like Max is letting more people see it and have a new audience. And yeah, it's really exciting. And so I'm getting like DMs from people just being like, wow, I never knew about this show. And so many of my friends who didn't have Stars never saw it. So now people are watching it, and it's great to have this new fan base for it. And I'm so proud of that show. Like, it meant so much to me, and I lived in LA, and I loved living out there, and like the showrunner, Jeff Astroff, I think is like one of the best human beings I know, and yeah, I loved it so much.
Absolutely, Gus Birney. People were finally in 2025 discovering Gaynor Phelps, and I would love to discuss about that television series called Shining Vale, because season 1 was the appetizer, and now season 2 is a main course with 4 forks and 2 spoons.
That was a beautiful way to say it. Yeah. Yeah. I actually personally, but maybe it's because I have more to do in the second season. I think the second season's even better than the first. So, but maybe I'm a little biased, but yes.
You may be a little biased, Gus Birney. And can you tell us a little bit more about the return of Gaynor Phelps and also the return to that haunted house and its supernatural influences?
Yeah, so the first season was more based on The Shining. And so the second season has way more nods to Rosemary's Baby, which is actually, funnily enough, I would lie in the first season and say I had watched Rosemary's Baby, and I hadn't. So between the first and the second season, I ended up watching it. And then I was like, wow, oh my gosh, now I get all the references, whatever. But yeah, so the second season, it's funny to talk about it because it was so long ago, and it's like I remember, but I have a whole other perspective on it now. But yeah, so Gaynor has dropped out of school, and her mom, between the first season and the second, the first season ends, spoiler alert, with her hitting her father on the head with an axe and falling down the stairs. And Terry, has gone to kind of a rehab facility to get his mobility back and his memory and all of this stuff. And Pat went to a psychiatric ward and has been gone for a couple months, and she's now coming back, and Gaynor had dropped out of school and is like kind of became the parent of the household for her and Jake. And she's just much more of a grown-up this season. And yeah, I mean, it's just like the responsibilities of life have hit her. And I think it was really fun to play kind of an adult, like a kid adult, which is what I felt at the time. I was like 22. And yeah, like what I've found is that the early 20s are like fake adult time. You think you're an adult, but you're actually nowhere near an adult. You are such a teenager still. And even if you have your like stuff together, you really don't. And yeah, so it was fun to play that. And yeah, she just was like, I don't know. I loved playing Gaynor so much, and I thought her writing was so funny, and she had the ability to just like fling comments off like the back of her hand and like not even think about it. And I wish I was like that. I'm like 10 steps behind everyone else. And so yeah, it was just, I loved doing that show so much.
If I understood correctly, Gus Birney, you are right now accusing me of being still a teenager, because I am currently 22, which is the exact age you were during season 1.
Well, I mean, I'm accusing both of us. I'm 25 and I still feel like a teenager. So, I mean, I won't speak for you, but I definitely still do.
Absolutely, Gus Birney. And that second season of Shining Vale is a greater exploration of Gaynor's independence, because she is gradually changing the scale and zooming out, and also questioning her place within the family, but also the world.
Yeah, well, also there was all these nods to, you know, that nature versus nurture thing, or maybe that's not the right way to say it, but like, you know, mental health issues ran in her family, and her mom had it, and then her grandma had some stuff. And so it's like the older you get, coming to terms with like, oh my God, is that going to be passed down to me? And she starts experiencing kind of blips of what her mom is experiencing, and worrying that like, oh wow, am I going to turn into my mother? And so, yeah, I loved that was kind of sprinkled in there that season. And what sucks is like, if it got another season, there's so much more that could have been explored. And, you know, it's like, what was great was they were writing like it was going to have 6 seasons, because like, in a dream world it did. And there was so much that could have been explored and was beginning to be explored. So, but I felt like, it was very fulfilling.
It was very fulfilling, Gus Birney, and my favorite scene of that season 2 is a dialogue in the first episode between Jake and Terry that you actually interrupted. And it is a misfortune because it started so well with the words dad and son alternated beautifully, totaling 7 mentions.
Yes, I know the moment you're talking about. It's really good.
Absolutely, Gus Birney, this is a memorable scene. And it also means that once again, you were working alongside Dylan Gage, that I think we already talked about last time, because he's playing Jake Phelps. And he is pushing the limits, because I didn't knew before that it was possible to have a negative number on a sport jersey.
I know. Who knew it was possible? And yet it is. So, groundbreaking stuff. Yeah.
This is a groundbreaking item. And there is also, at the very end of that season 2, a symbolic act of rebellion from Gaynor Phelps, because she is changing her hair color. Can you tell us a little bit more about the metaphor and the meaning behind that?
Yeah, I mean, it's silly what hair color represents, but I think it's what I touched on a little earlier. It's like, the whole season, she's so afraid of becoming her mother. And honestly, the whole series, she is. And so it's like, and, again, spoiler alert, cut out if you haven't finished the second season, but like, she kind of decides to become a writer, which is something that she has been in and, toying with. And also, if you had asked her at the beginning of the first season if she was going to become a writer like her mother, it would have been her worst nightmare. And, but it's like, yeah, she's kind of coming to terms with, this is who I am, and I'm going to do something crazy, and I'm going to dye my hair, and I'm going to look more like my mother, which is my fear, but I'm going to do it. And, and just like, I don't know, I love a makeover. I love a hair transformation. I think, it is a very symbolic thing. And I remember when Jeff, the writer, had told me that they were going to do that, I was like, am I dyeing my hair black? Does that mean I have to dye my hair black? Because those of you who are blonde know how hard it would be to go back to being blonde after having black hair. But also I would actually love to have black hair. That would be really cool. So anyway, that's my long-winded answer.
Absolutely, Gus Birney, your character is dropping out of school and also starting a new phase in her life as she decides to pursue writing instead of going to college. And the word Vale, from the title, traditionally means a long depression in the land between two hills and containing a river, which is an ideal home for a small herbivore and prey animal called the black rabbit.
I love your transitions into these shows. That's amazing. Yes, you want to talk about Black Rabbit?
Absolutely, Gus Birney, I would love to explore that upcoming show on Netflix in which you are interpreting the character of an aspiring actor and host called Mel Whitney. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes. I mean, honestly, I don't know how much I can actually talk about it because it's, still not out there. But yeah, I shot that over the summer and it's been like one of the, I know I probably say this about everything, but I just get more and more excited the newer projects. But it's one of the coolest things I've been a part of and like some of the most amazing people. But yeah, it's Jason Bateman and Jude Law are starring in this series on Netflix, and yeah, it's about this restaurant, and again, I'm like, how much do I say? But I'm in a lot of it, and it was a really intense experience. I actually was like, there's so many different characters and my character kind of is weaving in and out, and I feel like I was part of the scenery in like a really cool way where it was like very much a part of an ensemble. And yeah, I felt just like I learned so much. And I mean, I've been a fan of Jason Bateman since like I came out of the womb. I grew up watching Arrested Development, and it was just something that if you had told me, 10 years ago that I would have been working alongside him, he directed some of the episodes and like having him give me his feedback on stuff. It's like, are you kidding me? And so for the audition too, like I remember the callback was like a one-on-one thing with him, and I was just like, oh my God, I am speaking to this man who is so brilliant and has just like inspired me for years and whatever. So yeah, and like Jude Law is Jude Law. So like, come on. And yeah, I'm so excited about that. I have no idea when it's coming out, but that will be on Netflix. And yeah, I just feel weird. I'm like, how much I don't know how much I can talk about it, but yeah, it's very cool.
This is a very cool upcoming project, Gus Birney, that is set in New York City, nightlife scene, which is the place in which you're living. And in what aspects will this character of an aspiring actor named Mel Whitney in what aspect is she different from yourself?
Wow. I mean, in a lot of ways, I think what was fun, and I said this earlier, I keep repeating myself, but like, it was one of the first roles that I played that was actually like an adult. I've played a lot of teenagers and people who were kind of like coming into being a grown-up, and she was very much a grown-up and has this intense job and all these responsibilities. And I think, the show is very chic and sexy, and I think there was part of me that was intimidated by walking into that project and like still feeling like a goober and like this young kid. And yeah, like I learned so much about like being a woman doing that. And I'm excited for when it gets closer to coming out, because like there's so much to talk about with that show, and there's just so many elements to it, and I think it will wipe the floor with people. Not to like brag about it, but I think it's so awesome. But yeah, I learned a lot.
You learned a lot, Gus Birney, and on average, rabbits live between 8 and 10 years. So we can expect the Black Rabbit series to live upon 2035. And Mel Whitney will have enough time to pass a doctorate degree and be called Dr. Whitney in the field of foxtrotting.
It's so cool. Yes, Foxtrot. Foxtrot is another show that I am on, that has not come out yet. That's going to be on Apple. And it's another really cool show that, again, I don't feel like I can talk about, but it's this led by Jason Clarke, who is this incredible Australian actor who probably everybody knows, so I don't need to explain that. But it shot in Montreal, and that was actually had just finished doing a play, and I got that job, and that was like around this time last year-ish. It was maybe March of last year, and I flew out to Montreal. And I know you're Canadian, Victor, right? Or you live in Canada, yes?
Absolutely. I am actually living in Montreal.
Montreal. Okay, so yes. So Montreal, I'd never been there before, and it's so French. And like I've gone to Scotland for a couple days, but I've really not explored anywhere outside of the US. And so, to be somewhere that felt very European and like everyone's speaking French, and it's so like, yeah. So I loved it. It was freezing, as I'm sure you know.
It is freezing, Gus Birney, and moreover, the foxtrot is a dance with eternal flowing movements across the dance floor, which means that you were always in action, and this is currently the case as we speak, because you recently landed 500 miles from home on one of the 5 asphalt concrete runway of the Toronto Pearson International Airport.
Yes, I am in Toronto. Yeah, I'm out here doing a show for Netflix. It's called Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen, which is the coolest title. And yeah, I've been out here like 3 weeks, and I'm here till April, and I've been having like one of the best times. I feel so lame because all I'm doing is saying how great everything is, and trust me, there's stuff in my life that is not. But I think like these jobs recently in my life have like, I wake up here in Toronto and like right now the sun is shining, so it's really wonderful. But I look out, I have all these gorgeous windows, and I look out and I'm like, oh my God, there is such tragedy going on in the world right now, and such pain. And how lucky am I? And I don't take for granted for a second that I'm doing a job that I really love, and I feel good about myself doing it. And what a absolute privilege that is to experience. And especially in the acting industry, I have so many friends who are working, and then so many friends who are out of work, because it's just a really hard time in this industry right now. And I think it's just like, you can't take for granted these moments. And I love this part. I love this show. And like, so far the people are awesome. And I'm just really thankful. So I just feel like that's important to be said.
This is important to be said, Gus Birney. And what are your thoughts on being far away right now from the Empire State Building and also the James Earl Jones Theater, facing the legendary Chipotle Mexican Grill that is serving quesadilla with extra queso blanco cheese?
Wow. I need to go to that place. That sounds great. I know you're trying to transition into Sydney Brustein, but I am sad to be away from home. It's so close. Toronto is so close to New York, so I do feel like I can come back and forth whenever. But it's actually really nice to be away. Like I love traveling and I love exploring places. So I'm happy to be kind of living an alternative, well, not alternative, an alternate life right now. But if you want to talk about Cindy Brewstein, was that where you were transitioning to?
I was Gus Birney, actually not transitioning to that topic because I am surprised that you didn't mention the immense suffering from being far away from Humphrey Birney.
You from my brother? Yeah.
Because he's too busy expanding the bell hoop production with his friend Ryan.
Yes, my brother and his best friend Ryan they have this production company called Bellhop, and they have a YouTube channel, and they're amazing. This is a plug for them. And yeah, I talk to Ephraim almost every day though. Like, he's my best friend. I talk to him all the time, and I miss him, but I'm glad to be working and away and exploring.
Absolutely, Gus Birney, and the fact that you're talking on a daily basis with him is probably good news for the episode 10 of Ranky Panky, alongside, as I mentioned before, fellow wanderer, keeper of secrets, and ally in adventure, Humphrey Birney the First.
Yes. Yeah, that was a video I did on their channel years ago. And I had so much fun doing their video. I mean, they haven't asked me back, so it's about time I go back on that show. But they are both brilliant and wonderful, and you should check out their YouTube, those of you watching.
Absolutely. I am looking forward to witness that episode 10. And in conclusion, I am also looking forward to hear your upcoming music that is always made with the head and the heart, with a tempo in time, but never floating. Thank you very much, Augusta March Birney.
Thank you. I'm so happy to have talked to you again.